You're watching the Coaches Roundtable on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel. Welcome to Coaches Roundtable. I'm Ed Codi, and welcome our guest, Pittsburgh Steelers General Manager Kevin Colbert. Kevin, always good to have you on after the draft, which I call now April anxiety. It's such a frenzy anymore between the fans and sports writers, and the general managers are held to such a pressure on them to be successful. You and the Colts GM are ranked as one of the top two when it comes to the draft. What's your take on that evaluation of you and your colleagues and that kind of pressure?
You know what, Ed? We never measure ourselves at this time of year because none of us know. Everybody is very comfortable with their draft classes. We assume that because that's why you chose players, and we're comfortable with our class. But until they help us win games, nobody knows how good that class will be. So, draft ratings, so on and so forth. Really, we don't pay any attention to it because it remains to be seen. Again, we think we did the right things. Time will tell.
No matter how much hard work you put into this, it's still an inexact science, as you've alluded to. Kevin, I hear people say it takes 3 years, 5 years to evaluate a draft. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think players are going to play. They show it sooner than they do later. I look at that first year like Chase Claypool last year. He fit right in, had a great year, as have other rookies down through the years with the Steelers. What's your take on that? You into that 3 year, 5 year waiting period on the draft class?
Well, you'll have a guy like Chase jump out in his rookie year. Marquise Pouncey did the same thing. Ben Roethlisberger did the same thing, even though that was not by design. That was due to injury to Tommy Maddox. So occasionally, those rookies will jump in and be immediate starters. I look back at Troy Polamalu, and Troy was a backup package kind of player, played on special teams. There's an example of a Hall of Famer that didn't jump right in. So I think the 3 years I think that's a safer evaluation of how a player is going to play within the league, where he's going to fit, be a starter, a backup, a special teamer, maybe a Pro Bowler. And I think that's a fair assessment. But again, there are some rookies that will jump out quicker than.
Kevin, let's go to the draft. Always everyone wants to talk about that first pick, that second pick. You go with the running back, Najee Harris out of Alabama, 6'2", 230, has a Le'Veon Bell-like skills. He appears to be a three-down back. So I've had this argument, the chicken and the egg dilemma. Is it the running back or is it the line? And I always use the analogy. You tell me if I'm wrong. No one talked about Buffalo's offensive line and Reggie McKenzie and Joe DeLamielleure until O.J. Simpson got there. No one really talked about the Steelers' offensive line with Kolb and Webster and Larry Brown until Franco Harris got there. So where are you in that argument?
I think when I talk about the running game, I talk about the whole offense. And you can even throw the defense in, because if the defense is keeping a game within striking distance, maybe you don't have to throw the ball as much. But really, a running game, of course, it starts up front. And if you have a good front and a very good runner, you're going to have a very good running game. If you have an average offensive line and a great runner, you probably won't have a great running game. And a great offensive line and an average back. So I think it all goes together. And it's a coordination of the group. And obviously, we didn't run the ball like we wanted to or like we needed to last year. And that was an effort going into this season. Now our offensive line will be different, and that's just, with some attrition with Marquise retiring and Al moving on to another team. Those things will happen, and we have to adjust. And we've tried to add some young talent in there, and we'll see how Chooks moves over to the left side and how he performs, and how Zach Banner comes off his knee injury on the right side. And again, we've added some young guys in. We've added a couple vets in, and of course, the running back position has an addition, and we think a significant addition with Najee. So the goal was to be better, and only time will tell if we are.
Kevin, how much debate did you have between yourself and scouts between, do we take a running back in the first round? Do we take the best available offensive lineman? And did Minnesota's pick at number 3 right before you, or I felt was the best lineman in the draft, Christian Darrisaw, have any impact at all on you selecting Harris?
No, honestly, we were, the running back was if he was available, we felt that would be a pick, and not to take anything away from any of those offensive linemen because they're all significant. But we thought that, this was a special player, and he can come in and make a difference, and we can still add to the offensive line because there was very good depth at the 2 positions we were looking at specifically, be it center and tackle. There was unusual depth in that group. And at the running back, again, we thought Najee was a special player. So anytime you got a chance to take what you believe is a special player, you better do it because, usually you'll end up regretting not doing it.
And your number 2 pick, the tight end from Penn State, Pat Freiermuth, seems to have all the abilities. He can block. He's a great red zone receiver. So I don't think you take him at number 2 to sit him on a bench. Are we going to see a lot of multiple tight ends? You take Eric Ebron, who caught 56 passes last year. Is he going to be kind of a hybrid? You have a lot of options there.
Yeah, I think, Pat gives us a lot of options because he can play, as you mentioned. He can play attached as a wide tight end on the line of scrimmage. He can be an H-back, and he's worked from the slot. So I think Coach Canada will, learn his talents throughout the spring and training camp and see how we can mesh that in with Eric Ebron, with our receivers, with the new running back, and see what kind of packages we can come up with. With Vance McDonald retiring, we had an opening there, and again, Pat made a lot of sense to add at that point.
Kevin, with the rest of your draft, you feel confident you've built some depth in the secondary and at the linebacking position? I know you re-signed Vince Williams. You need some of these rookies to come through to build that depth that you need to have on defense.
Yeah, it was, I didn't even realize when we concluded the draft, someone in the media had made a question about, you drafted 4 offensive guys first and then 4 defensive guys second, and then obviously a specialist with the last pick. And I didn't even realize we had done that. So we were just taking what we felt were the best players at their positions. When we got, into the later stages, we added some depth on the defensive line, some depth at the outside linebackers, and, at the corner/safety and Trey Norwood. So it really wasn't by design, but we felt we could add some players. And, maybe they're depth players, maybe they're better than that. Only time will tell, but it really wasn't by design, offense first, defense second. That's just the way it broke.
Kevin, I know that you and probably Coach Tomlin, like a lot of other people, you evaluate, scout your own team. The last 3 years, the Steelers have struggled at the end of the season, 4-8. Last year, after a brilliant start, 1-5 down the stretch. You've been able to look at that and try to put your finger on as to the cause of these late season problems that have occurred last 3 years?
Yeah. And you know what, I think each season is independent of another. And, last year we didn't. I mean, we've never had an 11-0 start, so that was unusual in and of itself. And, of course, the 1-5 finish was not what we wanted. But, again, last year was such an unusual year, not only in football but just in life. And, teams that, eventually won the Super Bowl in what Tampa did, how they got there, they did a great job. But, they weren't 11-0 in the beginning, but they were the ones holding the trophy at the end. So we evaluate each season. I don't think you can look at it because each one is a different group of players. It's different circumstances, and last year was different. and it was very unsatisfactory to all of us. When we were 11-0, I never really felt that comfortable because I knew we would have a tough stretch to finish and would be judged, as we should be, as to how we finished the season. And one and done in the playoffs will never be acceptable. And the goal is to be better than one and done, and it'll never change. If we don't win the Super Bowl, we didn't do our jobs, and that's our focus as we sit here today.
Kevin, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about Ben, who was the first part of that season, the first 10 games, just tremendous, and then finished the season with 10 interceptions. How much of that was due to fatigue that he didn't play the year before, and then his yards per completion dropped down to 6+ yards, one of the lowest of starting quarterbacks in the league? Have you been able to determine why he struggled there at the end of the season?
Again, the season starts, and you're on a different pace, and we got some changes in that pace, and we're just trying to make our way through it. And as you mentioned, Ben was coming off a season-ending injury the previous year, so that was a new experience for him to come back after having missed a whole year. He had to learn how to manage himself, and we as a team. Again, like I mentioned, it all works together. We didn't play as good defensively, so we had to do some different things offensively to try to keep pace. And what we know is none of us were good enough down the stretch, and Ben will tell you that about himself. He was significantly disappointed in how he finished. I think he'll learn from that. And again, we'll look at that as we move into 2021. How can we learn and be better from 2020?
Kevin, always great to have you on. Appreciate your candid answers. I look forward to seeing you this season. I could easily run here another 20 minutes, a half an hour, so many other questions to ask you, but I don't have the time to do that. But thanks once again for joining us, and good luck this year.
Really appreciate it. Always good to catch up, and hope to see you live and in person again in the press box as we hopefully get back to some kind of normalcy.
I look forward to it. Take care, Kevin.
Thanks, Ed.
I'll be right back with Ellen George.
High school sports, community events, all of your favorite local shows are calling the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel their home. Find out everything your neighborhood has to offer on Channel 100 or on YouTube. Spirit, town pride, local communities. This is the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel.
I am back, joined to my right by the Swami George Abraham, to my left by the Tiger Albert Campman. Spotlight High School Track. The Butler boys and girls win WPIAL 3A team titles. For the girls, it was their fourth straight title. They finished 15-0 in the regular season. And the boys, their first title in like 14 years. And the girls pressing in, they may be close to it. The boys in 97 to 2000 won 4 straight WPIAL titles and 56 straight dual meets. I think the record is Mount Lebanon, 120-some straight. So the girls are right there. And both boys and girls are dominated by junior athletes. Junior Ali Morrow, she picked up 4 wins in the long jump, the 100, and tied for first in the 200, and part of the winning 4x100. Junior Emma Lehman, the 300 hurdles and 400 relay. For the boys, junior Guinness Brown, he just dominates the 100, 200, and 400. Junior C.J. Singleton, the 1600, the 800, and the 3200 relay. And Skylar Vavro, the 3200, and part of the 3200 relay. Just powerful track program that they have going on there.
I coached track for a long time, and Butler has the 2 things that you need to win championships. They have 3 or 4 dominators, and they have depth. They have depth. They have, every event is covered. You aren't shutting them out in any event, so that's a dominating team.
And the Monotol girls, they finished their season 8-0, winning the Keesack track title. Hannah Burgoon has had a fabulous year. She won the 1600, the 800, and part of the winning relays. Riley Long won the 200 and the triple jump. And for the boys, David Stam, he led the Monotol boys, winning all 3 field events in the javelin shot and discus. And boys volleyball in the section showdown, North Allegheny defeated Seneca Valley 3-1. The 11-0 Tigers, they're number 1 WPIAL, number 1 in the state. Seneca Valley's good. They're 11-2. They're ranked 3rd in the state. Seneca Valley was led by Michael Devlin with 17 kills and Dawson Ward with 13 kills. And you talk about depth, and they had 4 players with 10 or more kills. Michael Mossbacher with 12, Timmy Ditka with 11, Garrett Horovich with 10, and David Sanfilippo with 10. There's depth. As the Tigers go for their third straight WPIL and third straight state title, everything was last year they couldn't compete in the states because of COVID.
I know you guys have done volleyball matches, and I watch a lot of volleyball. When you have 4 kills, 4 people, that gives us setter options. And the defense is set up to block. You don't know where to go. And there's a center. He'll put it backwards, and they're going one-on-one. Once you get one-on-one at the net, the killer is the advantage. When you got 4 of them, that's why you're state
Pretty
champs.
hard, right? And in lacrosse, the boys, Grant Terwilliger of Butler, 3 goals. For the girls, Morgan Wise of Freeport. She had games of 5 and 7 goals. Evelyn Vasari of Butler, 5 goals. And in tennis, the North Catholic boys defeated Valley 4-1 to qualify for the state tournament. In baseball, all the playoffs getting underway this week in baseball and softball. For Jacob Obman of Monotol, he had 3 RBI. Pitcher Brandon Carson of Monotol, this is the 3rd or 4th time he struck out 15 in a game in a 4-3 win over AC Valley. Brett Galsik of Slippery Rock High School, grand slam at 6 RBI. Mitchell Schultz of Mars, 2 home runs and 4 RBIs, and 11-3 win over Hampton. Malik Metcalf of Karn City, 4 RBI. Brady Thompson of Monotol, 4 RBI. In softball, what a year this girl's had. Pitcher Courtney Stewart of Monotol. They have pitchers up there down through the year. She had 10 Ks and a 13-1 win over Red Bank Valley. Here's another outstanding pitcher, Sydney Selker of Freeport. She had 13 Ks and an 8-4 win over Deer Lakes and 12 Ks and a 4-1 win over Hampton. Abby DeHedis of Freeport, 3 hits in 1 game, a 4 RBI in another. Leanna Moriel, North Catholic, she struck out 18 in a 4-3 win over Derry. Bailey Rokenbrod of Knock, a complete game 3 hitter and a 3-1 win over Burrell. Brene Coe of Knock, 7 innings, 7 Ks and a 4-3 win over McKeesport, and she chipped in with 3 hits. Bailey Blauser, 2 sports star at AC Valley softball and track. She had 2 home runs, and teammates Kenzie Parks and Brogan Armorglass each had 6 RBIs in a 20-78 win over Oil City. Parks had 3 hits in another game. The Karn City girls, they're on fire. They're 13-1. They won 13 straight. They defeated a good Monotol team, 19-0. Zoe King had 3 hits and 3 RBI. Gara Malochik had 3 RBI. Emily Schmidt of Freeport, she had 3-run home run to defeat Hampton 4-1. And the performer maybe of the year, I talked last week about the pitcher from Latrobe threw a doubleheader, no-hitter against Gateway. But how about junior pitcher Maddie Griffin of Ligonier Valley? Ligonier Valley 16-1. She has pitched 9 no-hitters this season and struck out 211 batters.
Well, I'll check that team off then. I'll watch that team.
Well, I think they're the favorite to win it in their classification. Wild stories of the week: National Hockey League playoffs. Best of 7, game 1 at PPG. The Islanders 4, the Pens 3 in overtime for the Pens. That's 10 playoff losses in their last 11 games, and if memory serves me correct, it's their 5th straight loss to the Islanders going back to that sweep in 2019. Jari was not as good as he normally was, obviously, in the goals, giving up 2 third-period goals. The Islanders countered with a rookie goalie, Ilya Sorokin, 39 saves on 42 shots. Malkin scratched. This knee injury must be a lot more serious
more than they're saying.
Than they're saying.
Yeah, they need him. You guys said about him coming back, how much of a help it would be.
It solidifies the lines. You put him there in that second line, then you move Carter to the third, and you're really strong there. So they did a little juggling, and then the problem was Sullivan just couldn't pull Jari because Casey DeSmith, the backup's injured.
Well, without Melkin playing, the Islanders are just as good as them. It's a toss-up every game. You put Melkin in the second line, and I'll move Carter to third, then they elevate, and Penguins are a better team. If Malkin's out, I wouldn't be surprised if Islanders beat him.
So how important it becomes this second game
I don't know if he's playing or not.
at Pittsburgh for them to win? Can you go back to New York 0-2 where the Islanders have the best?
No, you had said that earlier in the year. They had the best
in the National Hockey
and
League.
let me ask: 1-10 in overtime. Do you read anything into it?
Yeah.
Do you, Al?
Goalie. Yeah, they don't have the dominating goalie, and that's really
that is a factor. I agree.
Overtime.
Yeah,
It takes 2 or 3 great saves by the other guy.
Right.
because the Penguins were all over that.
The first 8 minutes, they were all, I
Yeah,
watched,
so it's the goal.
they were
It's the goal.
down.
Jari was not
And
hot.
then I thought watching, I said, you know what, this rookie goalie in the playoff game, Sorokin, he's going to crack at some point, but he didn't. He got better as it went along. So I know you put some of the blame on Jari, but then again, you think, wow, maybe the Pens could have scored against a rookie in the playoff 5 goals,
You
maybe
give him credit.
6 goals.
You give the goalie
Give him credit
for the other team.
for
And
what he did.
That's what happens in NHL hockey, though. The hot goalies win. And Jari did not play up to the standard they need him to play, and they're going to lose because Islanders, the way they play, counter check, and they wait, and then here they come, and Jari has to make some big saves.
They're one of the teams that can match the Pens in speed.
Oh yeah, they could.
You know what I noticed? He stopped some tough shots there, but he lets a
Can't let that
couple
happen.
in
Yes.
that they just weren't tough.
Yeah, he did. He stopped there early on. He
Yeah,
looked
it's a great
terrific.
point.
Yeah.
I didn't think the Islanders were going to score more than 1 or 2 goals, but
They usually don't. And that's what I'm saying to you.
and
Jari did not
they
play
struggled
well.
at the end of the season. But as we said last week, throw all that out when it comes to the
Out,
playoffs.
out.
Now elsewhere, Washington defeated Boston 3-2 in Game 1 in overtime. Boston returned favors 4-3 in the second game in overtime. The series stands tied 1-1.
2 dead even teams. I think it's double figures. I'll say 15 or more have been decided by 1 goal every game. Every game's a 1-goal game, so wouldn't be surprised if there's 2 more overtimes.
I'll bet you that one goes 7.
Yeah, I would think so. Too.
I would think so also. Major League Baseball, Pirates split a 4-game series with the Giants. Both wins, a comeback style. Jacob Stallings, a walk-off 2-run home run to beat the Giants 8-6 after the Pirates were down 6-2 in the 7th. You know what you like about Stallings? He's kind of a throwback player. You don't see any bat flipping or anything from him. He's just a good, solid player. The Pirates are 17-23. 3-2 win, 11th inning sacrifice fly by Polanco. The Pirates show some flashes of being good. There's just not enough hitting on that team. And then the up and down Mitch Keller, he gives you the good, the bad, the ugly. One game, he's terrible. And then a good game as he did against the Giants, 6 innings, 2 hits, 8 Ks. But he's 2-5 on a season with a 7.16 ERA. You just can't get those back-to-back games in there for him. I don't know what the reason is.
It's his command. That's what it is. When he's throwing
He
strikes.
tried to throw too hard.
When he's throwing, I never say that. I will never say not try to throw, but it is his command. And when he's throwing strikes and good strikes, his stuff's good enough to win big time in the pro. But when you're walking 3 or 4 and give 1 big hit, that's his MO.
You know, I was watching a Ken Burns, a great baseball series, and when Koufax struggled his first 5 years, and then they got a catcher by the name of Norm Sherry. He pulled him aside and said, "You don't have to throw as hard as you're trying to throw to get guys out." So he eased up a little bit, and then he had that 5-year period, the greatest maybe of all time. So I don't know if that's the case necessarily with him. Keller, is he trying too hard at times?
Well, I think that the pressure's on him because he's been in Pittsburgh phenom. I mean, he's not phenom around the major leagues, but they're counting on him big time.
And right now with the draft coming up, it looks like the Pirates they're closing in on the top pitcher in the country from Vanderbilt. The guy is terrific. But
Yeah, they're going to take lighter. I was
Lighter.
surprised. They're going to take lighter.
Yeah, there's 2 of them. There are 2
Rocker
of
and
them.
lighter. They're
Yeah.
going to take
Rocker,
lighter.
but I think they're leaning toward lighter.
Hey, Garrett Cole, the Yanks. Hey, boys, 5-1 with a 1.37 ERA. He just looks terrific.
He is terrific. There's no question about it. And he's playing for a good team also. And so he can have a bad outing and still win. He pitches pressure free. At Pittsburgh, you have every inning. You have to throw a strike. You have to get people out. Yankees gives 4 runs up. He expects to win 5-4.
Hey, this date, Major League Baseball history, Stan Musial got his 3,000th hit, May the 13th, 1958. Just what a consistent career. I think he had just as many hits at home as he had on the road. Batted
Exact.
331 at
The
home,
exact.
and batted 331 on the road.
Yeah.
Most underrated superstar of all time.
Oh, Trent.
No,
First base, left field.
They'll talk about Mano, and they'll talk, and I'm thinking, Musial was better. They don't. He never gets
475
credit.
career
Yeah.
home runs. Just a tremendous player and a humble guy too. For that, from out of Donora, PA. Hey, let's go to the NFL schedule. It's 17 games that come out. Let's look at the Steelers. They open up at Buffalo. September the 12th at 1 p.m. And then how about this, guys? Road games at Green Bay, at Minnesota, at Kansas City, and at the Chargers, plus the usual games at Baltimore and Cleveland and Cincinnati. 5 prime games. How about the last 5 games? You know, the last 3 years, the Steelers are 4-8 at the end of the season. 1-5 collapsed last year. The last 5 games: Minnesota, Tennessee, Kansas City, Cleveland, and Baltimore.
Well, one thing you know is you are not going through the NFL season and getting through easily, because those teams are all building to beat the Steelers. They're looking and saying, well, we got to play the Steelers. So it works both ways.
Hey, you know, looking at this, adding this 17th game, I didn't have a chance to ask Kevin Colbert about this with picking Najee Harris. You know, even at a modest 20 carries a game, that's 340 carries. And the research shows when running backs have 2 or 3 years in a row where they carry around 350 times, their careers turn down rather quickly, as we've seen with the number of running backs. So outside of Tennessee, everybody's gone to running back by committee. So what is a respectable load for a running back today if he's your number one guy?
Well, the first thought that comes to my mind before I answer that question is that's why you don't take a running back in the first round. If you're worried about how many carries they're having, don't take them, because if you're taking a running back, he's supposed to carry the ball 25, 30 times. But it's not
Can't
that
do it
way.
today.
They're
Not adding
doing
his
it. They're not
17th
doing
game.
it, so you need a second back, so why take a first rounder? I'd say 15. That'd be my number.
I think that's pretty much it, and that's still a rather hefty load the way it is. Other NFL games of interest, Cleveland opens at Kansas City, and then the first Monday night game, you have Baltimore at Las Vegas, the Cowboys at Tampa Bay. They open the season September the 3rd, and then Tampa Bay and Tom Brady go to New England October the 3rd. Imagine the interest in that game. Christmas Day, Cleveland's at Green Bay, the Colts at Arizona.
George, question for you. Why does NFL like Vegas? Why do they put Vegas on opening night? They think there's something special or something every year. I don't understand. What's the
I
reason?
think one of the reasons is that $3 billion or $2 billion
Yeah, they built
stadium.
this palace
They want to show
stadium,
that palace
I
off.
think.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah, they built quite a place. Opening night is Dallas, Tampa.
yeah. And the
I thought they have
other
2 games opening. That's what I
No,
thought.
no, that's Monday. That
I
they
meant Monday
there's
night.
another-
That's what I
Yeah,
meant.
they did that for years because of 60 games. They don't play the last Monday. So they gave them a bone and gave them a second game. That is no
there'd be
longer
a
the
late,
case.
Second game
late
should-
West
No.
Coast game.
Okay.
And speaking of Vegas, you know, Oakland A's, the Major League Baseball has given them permission to look for a new home.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, they've lost the Warriors. They've lost the Raiders. They want to lose their baseball team. The A's want to build this new complex that costs around $12 billion. It's a stadium. It's a waterfront complex with restaurants and businesses. They're waiting to hear. Oakland loses this team. You're a third-rate city now. Imagine if the Pens and the Pirates and the Steelers left Pittsburgh. It would be Tombstone
It would
East.
be. It would be.
No,
I don't know what they're
Oakland-
hesitating for.
They said it's terrible. The drainage, the sewage. They said it is
It's horrible.
terrible.
It's a cesspool.
Yes.
Hey, the Preakness Rumbar wins to give trainer Michael McCarthy his first Triple Crown victory. Derby winner Medina Spirit finished third. Medina passed 3 rounds of pre-Preakness drug tests.
Yeah, Baffert is really being looked at.
He's
They still
suspended.
threw. Hey, he's out of the.
He's suspended.
out of the Belmont. He's not allowed to
Yeah.
bring horses to New York.
Right, he's suspended. Hey, one more thing we finish up here. Things are getting messy at Pine Richland High School football. Former coach Eric Kasparovich has filed a defamation of character lawsuit against two Pine Richland administrators and a school board president. This is the second lawsuit filed against them. The other by a parent that we talked about by the name of Cruz, who said they're using his son as a pawn. This is going to be ugly. I'm not sure, to the detriment of the kids, when are they going to get a coach to get this season underway?
That'd be very important.
That is it for us. We've run out of time. We'll see you next week.